Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of If You Have to Pick Three. It's Matt.
And it's Zach.
This is our list episode. If you haven't joined us for one of these before, we get a topic. I pick three. Zach picks three. We put together a final three. This time you clicked on the picture, and this one actually is kind of all about logos and pictures and such. When you go to the music store or you're online and you happen to see the logo of your favorite band, you're always kind of intrigued by, well, what's to come? And you don't really think about it all that often, but well, what's in a logo? And why are some more popular than others? So we decided, you know what? What do we deem to be the top three band logos of all time?
With a huge caveat. A famous Epic Footnote caveat. That's right. We get to determine the coolest logos of all time, except for the Rolling Stones' iconic lip logo. We've both agreed there's no denying how classic that logo is. I mean, I feel like that would be number one on anyone's list. And I think, to your point, Matt, a good logo for a band almost kind of tells you what to expect without making you realize you're expecting it. As soon as you see the Rolling Stones logo, those lips, you automatically almost just sense a feeling of rebellion, sexualization, just rock and roll. It's just that iconic and that's that associated with the Rolling Stones to the point that's actually, I forgot that it wasn't actually introduced for the first time until 1970, like a good few years after the band launched. To me, it's always been associated with the band. So we are going to be choosing iconic logos that are not Rolling Stones lips.
And you know what's actually interesting about the lip logo, for 1 second, is that it's used in a multitude of different ways over the years.
Absolutely.
When they go to different countries, they take the inside of the tongue and make it like the flag of the country that they're going to. So I think that's really cool when you can do something like that with a logo. Not many bands, take the time to do that, but the ones that do, they kind of do it really well.
And it's interesting. I was reading about how the logo came to be, and it really was kind of like more on the whim. The artist who did that, he was a student in design. He was paid only like $50 for the logo. He only charged that because it was like, I spent a week doing it after talking to Mick Jagger. Really wasn't much thought that went into it. And he didn't even realize like how impactful it really would be. So I just think that's so fascinating because you see that logo on every single piece of merchandise and you automatically think the Rolling Stones. Just kind of goes to show you how important visualization is. Before we go into that, special shout out to Rootless Coffee Co. They're out of Flint, Michigan, and not only do they brew delicious coffee blends, really break free from boring. I know that's like, it sounds a little cheesy, but it really is true. It's just interesting, smooth flavors. Not only do they do that, but they actually collaborate with all types of brands, artists, comics, podcasts to produce their own blends, including yours truly. That's right. Epic Footnote has its own coffee blend. If you go to rootlesscoffee.com, you can order yourself your own bag of Epic Footnote roast.
If you haven't had a chance, go to rootlesscoffee.com and you click on the partners link. On there, you're going to see our blue bag. Click on there and then you can purchase our bag of coffee. If you like something that's got like notes of dark chocolate, it's a little bit nutty, maybe some dried fruit hints in there, like cherries and maybe a little almond in there, you're going to love this coffee and it's super smooth. I mean, that's the one thing I can't get over with any of the coffee from Rootless Coffee. It's just super smooth. It's not bitter at all. And I guarantee you're going to love something that they have, even if it's not our blend. Maybe it's another one. I really enjoy the Berry Kiss one too. So give them a try if you're looking for some new coffee, and especially if you want to get into craft coffee, this is the perfect way to do it. So 15% off is what we're giving you when you purchase any bag of coffee of their regular blends on their website. So use the code EPICROAST at checkout. And then you can also purchase our bag of coffee. It's just a win-win for everybody because you're going to find something that you love. If you love coffee, you're going to love something here. I guarantee it. Epic Roast at checkout, rootlesscoffee.com.
So, Matt, would you like to go first and share your three most iconic logos?
Hell yeah, I'm going to go first. You go first on every list.
All right. I have your list. I'm a gentleman. Thank you very much.
All right. So I don't know what logos are going to be left for you because these are definitely the three most iconic.
Fighting words.
And I'm using 3 very loosely, and you'll find out in a minute why. So,
I already have a headache over this.
So the first logo I'm going to talk about is actually a logo that I've kind of grown to loathe because I'm not a huge fan of the band.
That's a great selling point. Like, I actually hate this logo, but
it's so iconic that whenever I see it, I'm like, oh, come on. Again, like, really, what are they doing now? Can they just please stop? I mean, I don't like seeing them on tour anymore. I don't like when they release new music. There's so much drama, or there was so much drama around the band, that when I see the Aerosmith logo, I kind of cringe. Tell me I'm wrong.
Wait, hold on.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Why are you so negative about your own choice?
I'm not negative about my choice. I'm negative about the band.
Shitting on them. Like, oh, this fucking logo makes me so angry.
Because
I want to punch the sky. You are Steven Tyler and Aerosmith. That's what you sound like.
I don't know. I don't
play it back and you'll hear how mean you sound. So Aerosmith's wing logo is what you're saying.
Aerosmith's wing logo, right. So it was designed actually by the band's ex-guitarist, Ray Bano, and he was only in the band for, I think it was a year and some change maybe. But that was his biggest contribution to the band, gave him their damn logo for all these years. It appeared on 1974's album, aptly named Get Your Wings. And it's exactly what it was. It was that stylized wing and A logo kind of with the very trippy looking Aerosmith inside of it. So it was really cool. And if you've ever seen Aerosmith's original logo, they definitely needed an upgrade, and this was a huge upgrade. So here we go. Number 1, Aerosmith and their A wing logo. Number 2 is actually from one of the most iconic live bands of all time. It is going to be the Steal Your Face Skull and Lightning from the Grateful Dead. You always think the Grateful Dead when you see like the skull and the red and the blue with the lightning. This didn't appear until their double live album in 1969 with the drawing of the circle with the human skull and the lightning bolt. Obviously, the band is one of the best live bands of all time in certain people's minds, and they really just needed a way to identify their equipment backstage. So, I mean, instead of just spray painting Grateful Dead on there, the band's sound engineer actually, he was inspired by a dual-colored freeway sign, and he shared his ideas with a graphic designer, and shortly thereafter, the skull and the lightning logo was born. So there we go. That's
I actually
2.
love that a crew member, the sound guy, essentially created that, because I think it just kind of goes to show you how much everyone involved in the Grateful Dead was part of the team in a way. That's kind
it's an experience.
But like I love that, like, you know, it wasn't just like some artist that they hired outside. It was actually someone like who worked with the band, like on the band's crew as well. Just kind of, I don't know, just something really special about that.
So in that vein, I think you're going to like my last choice. Mm-hmm. So like I said, I used the 3 very loosely here because the third logo, well, it's technically 4 logos for Led Zeppelin's 4 logos. So they didn't, on their 4th album, they didn't want to have any name on the cover. They didn't want to have anything about the band on the cover. Inside of the sleeve actually appears these 4 logos. So each one represents a member of the band. Jimmy Page, he has the Zoso logo, as it's been referred to. He explained in many a time that it's not, in fact, intended to be a word at all, but it was actually discovered as early back as I think it was 1557 to represent Saturn. So Saturn rules over Page's astrological sun sign, Capricorn. And, you know, he's never really going to say why he did it. That was his choice. So that's his logo. John Paul Jones's symbol actually came from Rudolf Koch's Book of Signs. And it's a single circle with 3 intersecting pieces. I'm not going to go into the whole detail of this logo, but it's intended to symbolize a person who possesses both confidence and competence. We got John Bonham's symbol. It's just 3 interlocking rings, and it was picked by the drummer from actually the same book from that John Paul Jones was in. It represents the Trinity of the Mother, Father, and Child, and actually Funny enough, it was actually used as a beer logo for Ballantine beer. So the difference between Bonham's logo and the Ballantine beer logo is that the single circle is at the top of Bonham's logo with the 2 at the bottom, and they flipped it upside down for the Ballantine beer logo with the 2 at the top and 1 at the bottom. And finally, Robert Plant's symbol is a feather of, I hope I'm going to say this correctly, Ma'at, the Egyptian goddess of justice and fairness. And it's an emblem of a writer. So obviously he's the writer for most of the songs in Zeppelin. It can be found in the Sacred Symbols of Mu by Colonel James Churchward book. It's not a common symbol, but it does turn up in many Egyptian and in Red Indian texts. So there you go. That is a little history lesson on the Led Zeppelin 4 logos, but that is, I think, whenever you see these, they're so unique, but they actually work together really well. Whenever you see them, you think Led Zeppelin, at least in my mind. So there we go. There are my 3 logos. You've got the Aerosmith Wing logo, the Grateful Dead Skull and Lightning, and the Led Zeppelin 4 logos. What say you, Mr. Zach?
Well, those are definitely some good choices, even if you hated one of them so bad. I still can't get over that.
It's the band, not the logo.
It's just still funny. All right, let's get into my list. First up, you have quite arguably one of the more influential punk rock logos, the one that kind of started it all. And I'm talking about the one that Arturo Vega created for the one and only Ramones in 1975. And I'm talking about the one that's essentially the black and white presidential seal. And I love how Arturo has said that he used that seal, the band members' names all around it. He wanted to create a clash of celebrating the all-American band that he thought the Ramones were, as well as just the rebellious nature of what the Ramones and punk rock at the time really was. And if you look at it, it's so simple, yet so striking that you just get that, like, yeah, this is badass. And, you've seen a lot of bands kind of do their own versions of it as well as an homage to the Ramones, but it really kind of set the tone for the Ramones were just bigger than than all 4 members on their own. You see it and you just automatically know what you're kind of getting into the Ramones. So went with the presidential seal of the Ramones as my first pick. Second pick, I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, because literally for about a decade, this artist only went by this symbol. Literally, if you saw the symbol, you not only thought of said artist, but you couldn't even, that was the whole point. He went by this name. I'm talking, of course, about Prince. It's kind of known as love symbol number 2. It's a spiritual logo. It's just when in 93, he decided, he was kind of going through some label disputes, and he just kind of wanted to, break out and make a statement. So he changed his name to an unpronounceable symbol. And he refused to go by just Prince, which was a big deal. I mean, this is when Prince was at the height of his career. And because of that, press ended up calling him the artist formerly known as Prince, which has become just like a big joke about itself. And then when in 2000 he went back to being called Prince, after he got out of his record deal with Warner Brothers, he went back to just being Prince. And it was kind of a big deal. It was like, no more, Prince is back, even though he's always been around. It's still such an iconic image, even when he went back just to be known as Prince. I mean, when you look at the guitar that he would play with that symbol, I think when we're talking about most iconic instruments, that guitar in particular came to mind. It's hard to imagine Prince and not that symbol. So I went with, for my second pick, Prince's symbol, love symbol number 2. My third pick, and this one I'm torn because I feel like I could have gone in a lot of different directions. I mean, I definitely was considering the Misfits classic Crimson Ghost logo. I mean, you even just looking at the Ghost, it stands out. I was kind of torn between also picking Kiss's font logo. I mean, just when you look at that font, it's Kiss, and seeing it in the big lights on stage is always a huge deal. But I decided, you know what? No, I'm going to go in a hip hop direction. I'm going to go with possibly the most recognizable symbol in hip hop. I'm talking about, of course, the W logo of Wu-Tang Clan. The yellow and black, stylized W with, a bit of a kung fu inspiration, created by the DJ producer and collaborator Mathematics. And when you look at it, you just think Wu-Tang. You just start chanting Wu-Tang ain't nothing to with. It stands out, and it automatically just makes you think of one of arguably the most free-spirited, uncontrollable hip-hop groups of all time. I'm not sure when it was originated, but again, you just associate Wu-Tang Clan with that. You think of RZA, you think of Earl Dirty Bastard, you think of Method Man together under that banner, under that flag. So, to recap, I went with Wu-Tang Clan's W symbol, Prince's Love Number 2 symbol, and the Ramones presidential seal. So, Matt.
So, Zach.
I'll give you this one for sure. Definitely Grateful Dead's skull. When you see that sticker on someone's bumper, you know that guy is a Grateful Dead head, and you know that guy's a fan of just jam music in general. It just speaks volumes.
Yes.
Gotta pick that one.
Has to be in there.
It has to be in there. I would argue that Prince's logo has to be in there too.
Yes.
Literally, that was how he was introduced. That's how he would introduce himself for most of a decade.
Dearly beloved. Dearly beloved.
Get up. So, when I think of that symbol, I think more of that VMA performance where he had the ass cheeks out, but that's separate. Now, anyway. And I also think about it, and we probably at some point need to do best Super Bowl halftime performances. But even just thinking back to when Prince did the Super Bowl halftime show and had that guitar with the symbol, I mean, that's just an iconic sight right there too. So definitely. So that's 2. The third one, before we pick the third one, I do want to say one thing that I'm kind of surprised by.
What's that?
Neither of us picked the ACDC logo.
I tried, and see, I don't know if you've noticed this about my list at all, but I tried to stay away from the logos that specifically spell out the band. Like the Grateful Dead, it's just a skull. Zeppelin was just the symbols.
The symbols. More symbols than the text.
Right. And then Aerosmith, if you're not paying attention to the Aerosmith one, the name in there could get lost. But it's mostly about the wings and the A. So I tried to stay away from anything, because honestly, if you threw like Metallica's in there with the M and the A with the spikes at the end, it's Metallica. So you really can't not associate it with Metallica because it's their name. Like you mentioned Kiss, like great, it's a great logo, but it's the band's name.
That's kind of part of me why I didn't go with that too. And I also kind of, before people point this out, Iron Maiden's logo, yes, classic font. And yes, Eddie is the best mascot of all time. We even do a whole episode dedicated to our favorite incarnations of Eddie. But mascot is different than logo. Just want to point that out too. But I do want to point out ACDC though, only because in a recent survey, it was polled that the most popular or most worn, seen in public band t-shirt was ACDC, followed by Aerosmith.
Or they could just be fans of electricity.
Well, that's true too. But I actually found Aerosmith more shocking than AC/DC. And I don't know why. So, with that said, third slot, I'm torn between the Ramones and Aerosmith.
I'm going back to my initial argument. You can't not think of the Ramones because their name is on it.
Hold on. You can kind of, I would argue that while the Aerosmith font does slightly go into it, that's still the font too. I think it's the same argument. And you can make the same argument that while the text is there, your eyes are drawn to the seal that's in the middle, and then also the names around. It's not just the Ramones name.
But they're spelling out the band.
They're spelling out Aerosmith too in it, just because there's wings attached to it.
All right, then if we want to go by that route, the only one that doesn't do that is Zeppelin.
To me, I don't think of Zeppelin in those symbols. I think it should be either Ramones or Aerosmith. I'm not denying that, but to make the argument about the name spell out, that argument's not valid. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so then I'm going to use this argument then.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going by each of them has the band name in it, okay, fine. then the Ramones one has the band members' names in it. So
Which
it's
I think
even
is cool.
more right. Well, it's even more identifiable to the band.
But isn't that the point?
No, well, it is the point, but I think if we're trying to say what's the most iconic logo, I don't think you need to put that much into a logo to be identified with a band. I mean, if you're going to use the presidential seal, it's a great, I think, secondary logo because you're punning on something else. But I don't think they came up with anything that wasn't already done. Like the Aerosmith thing is completely original.
Well, I could argue against that argument a lot. For the sake of time and our own sanity, I will give it to Aerosmith for the fact that I just brought up that Aerosmith is still one of, like, with wings, without wings, they still are the most worn T-shirt out there, which I think speaks volumes to how popular both the band's music is, as much as you hate to admit to it, but also just how people still resonate with that logo and how there's still tons of people who think that logo is cool. So I would be okay with giving it to Aerosmith, the third slot.
Okay.
You sort of won.
Sort of.
Sort of. So to recap, our final three: Grateful Dead's Steal Your Face Skull, Aerosmith's Wings, and Prince's Love Symbol number 2, or
/name.
The name of the artist formerly known as Prince. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are there logos that we're not thinking about? Let us know on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Epic Footnote. Let us know what you think. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel to hear more podcasts like this, as well as check out some cool videos. You know what logo really looks cool?
Our logo?
Our logo on a coffee bag. Go to rootlesscoffee.com, buy Epic Footnote Roast today. Also use the code Epic Roast to get 50% off of any other order from Rootless Coffee. You're gonna love their blends. They really break free from boring.
And if you want to smell good, in addition to having some really good tasting coffee, make sure you check out our other sponsor, Lucky 13 Beard Co. Small batch made beard balms and oils. They make you smell real good, make you feel real fresh. 10% off of all of it using the code EFP10 at checkout. Like I said, you're going to look good, smell good, and maybe smell epic. Dare I tease?
Are you teasing something?
Maybe.
Oh my goodness. What could you be teasing? Stay tuned. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you join us for another episode of Real Stamp.
$1 bill, y'all.
What?
Wu-Tang.